What is up, everybody? My name is Dr. Dale, and this is another episode of PreMed Monday. We're in season number 1. We're focusing on 10 keys for success, not just pre-medical success, but success in general, because we want you guys to be medical doctors, but we want you to be successful all around also, right? So we've already done 5 episodes. Go back and check them out if you haven't seen them. Some great stuff. We put out a video every week, get you pumped, give you some information, help you along your journey. And this is episode number 6. Today, we're going to be talking about the process. Every successful individual has a process, right? And you have to trust the process. Check it out. So my wife and I really don't watch too much television, but a show that we both actually really love is called The Prophet. It's probably one of my favorite TV shows. And one of the things the guy on The Prophet always says is trust the process. And, you know, I've been watching the show, and trust the process is something that I've kind of taken to be my own. Trust the process. It kind of keeps me going, keeps me motivated, and keeps me pumped. And so if you haven't seen the show, essentially what happens is there's this guy, he's an entrepreneur, very successful. He finds businesses, and then he'll invest in businesses. He'll work with them, take over complete control of the company, and help them turn your business around and make it successful. And one of the things that happens frequently on the show is he starts off with a group, and they'll put a process in place, right? They'll say, this is how we're going to do our inventory. This is how we're going to do our sales. This is how we're going to do our marketing, blah, blah, blah. They put a process in place. And then I don't want to say almost inevitably, but a lot of times on the show, you see what happens is the producers, they do such a great job of capturing the breakdown of the process, and the original business owners, things start falling apart, the process isn't working, and they abandon the process. And sometimes the process is working fine, but really what's happening is they're just abandoning the process. And then things start falling apart. That's actually what happens most of the time. And then what will happen is the host of the show will come back, the entrepreneur, and he'll evaluate what's going on. He'll look at them and he'll say, guys, you've got to trust the process, right? It's the same thing in, I think, every field for success. Before you go into doing something, you want to have a process for it. Essentially, when I'm saying process, all I mean is you have to have a game plan for it, right? If you're in a basketball game, there's 3 seconds left on a shot, you're down by 2, what are you going to do? You're going to shoot a 3-pointer, right? But in order to do that, or you might go for the tie, but the point is you're going to get off a last second shot. But you have to have a game plan. So your coach calls a timeout, you go to the sideline, you put together your game plan, you put together a process, right? And what happens? Every now and then you see it happen. They go out there, they run the play, and then somebody just abandons process and throws up some crazy shot. They lose, everybody gets mad at them, right? You have to have a process. It's the same type of thing. For the pre-medical journey, for the pre-law journey, no matter what you're doing, you have to have a game plan in place, a strategy. And this strategy should be kind of part of what we talked about last week a little bit. We talked about task management. So this strategy should be intertwined with your task management, but you have to have a strategy in place, and that's your process. You know, it's going to be part of your schedule. It's going to be your mentors. It's going to be your teachers. It's going to be going to tutoring. A lot of things you have to be able to bring together. A lot of things we've talked about in the past, you have to be able to bring together and mix them into one big, combined, whatever you want to call it, melting pot. We call it melting pot. And that's your process. And once you have your process, you need to put it into action. Start going with your process. Start working on that process. But the focus of this episode is you have to trust the process. Don't abandon ship. Don't abandon ship. Because what happens, and I'll use the pre-medical world as an example because it happens so often in the pre-med world, is you'll have your process, your study habits in place, whatever, and then one crazy thing, you get one bad grade maybe. You might get 1D or 1F. And then you just abandon ship and say, oh, I'm not cut out for this. Right? But you have to trust the process. And within your process, you should have some contingency plans, right? So if you do bad on a test, you have a plan, okay, I need to go get more tutoring. That's part of your process. The thing is, you have to trust the process, because if you don't have a game plan in place that you can rely on, you can fall back on, then you're out there just freestyling. If you're freestyling, you're much more likely to make a mistake than if you're going with your game plan. So important. Successful people are very good at this, having processes in place and trusting the process. I do want to explain the concept of pivoting to you, however, because this is a little bit different from abandoning the process. What you notice is sometimes you have a game plan in place and you're using maybe a certain study technique and you're doing it for every test, but it's just not working. Sometimes you have to pivot. You're not getting out of the game. You're not changing your vision, your goal, but what you're doing is you're simply pivoting you're changing the way you're doing something in order to achieve the same goal you had at the beginning, right? And that's part of your process. You have to keep room for pivoting within your process, okay? This is so very important. I don't want any of you to go out there just blind trying to figure things out as you're going. Sometimes you have to do that, and that's part of it, but that has to be built into your process. You need to have an underlying game plan, underlying strategy, underlying what I call process, and trust it, okay? You got to trust it. You can make changes to it, you can add to it, you can take away from it, you can pivot within it, but you still have to have a baseline process that you're going on. Don't go down any journey chasing any of your visions, trying to be successful and achieve that vision without trusting your process, all right? So important, so key. So please, please, please have a process. Please trust that process. Stick with it, right? That's one of the biggest keys for success. You got to trust it, all right? You got to trust it. You made it. Other people help you make it. Put it together. Take some time and put the process together. But after you put it together, trust what you put together, all right? And go with it, all right? Pre-Med Mondays. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. As always, please do us a favor. If you have not yet, I hope you have. But if you haven't, or if you're new to Pre-Med Mondays, please subscribe to our channel. We want to make sure we're getting as much information out to you guys as we possibly can. We'll keep these videos short, sweet, and concise, so that you guys can watch it and not get too bored or they don't last too long for you. And something else that I do want to mention, my wife was actually asking me, like, aren't you going to rehearse for this? Just so you guys know, we don't rehearse. I don't rehearse for any of this. I just sit down, put the camera on, and start talking, just tell you kind of whatever's on my mind about the particular topic that I decided to talk to you guys about, because I want you guys to be able to relate to it and feel and just hear it coming off the top of my head as if you're sitting here just talking with me right now. So none of this is planned to rehearse. So that way you're getting kind of my true feelings about how you guys can become successful and true things that I do in my life, true things that I watch successful people do in their life, and I try to emulate. So trust the process. Please subscribe, share the video, tell your friends. Love you guys, and we'll see you next week, Pre-Med Mondays, all right?